Hi, I'm Matthew Sadler.
And I'm WIM Natasha Regan. We're thrilled to learn that we have won the Averbakh-Boleslavsky Award, which is the FIDE Book Award 2020. The book we wrote is Game Changer by Grandmaster Matthew Sadler and myself. And in it, we look at games from the self-taught artificial intelligence AlphaZero and its games against Stockfish. We would like to say a big thank you to Allard and the team at New in Chess for all their enthusiasm and publishing the book. And a huge thank you to DeepMind for inviting us to write the book and for all the work on the project. It was a really fascinating project. So a big thank you to Demis Hassabis and the team.
Yeah, as Natasha said, the book is all about AlphaZero, this incredible self-learning algorithm that got to superhuman strength in chess and also in Go and in shogi. Yeah, what did we do in the book? Well, we tried to understand how AlphaZero thinks, how does it come up with its moves, and also to show all the themes of its chess. All the amazing things it comes up with, like marches of rook's pawns, opposite side castling, long knight maneuvers, and exploitation of weak color complexes. So loads and loads of great games, and well, we're actually going to have a look at one of them.
Yeah, and we're thrilled that lots of these themes we can see in professional games. So we do think that it has changed chess. The game we're going to show you is a King's Indian Samisch. And so in this game, Stockfish 8 is white and AlphaZero is black. And we'll be showing several of the themes, but including a march of the rook's pawn. And a very interesting thing is that this opening has also been used in the recent super final of TSEC 18 between Stockfish and Leela. The latest version of Stockfish is very impressive, and Stockfish won the super final. Leela is also extremely strong, and we saw in a video we've also got on the Game Changer site, Leela adopting some of AlphaZero's plans. So let's have a look at the game between Stockfish and AlphaZero.
Yeah, let's have a look indeed. So this was the opening. So there was a series of 100 games played with openings taken from a previous TSEC super final, and then they just let AlphaZero and Stockfish play these out as well. So these were always very interesting because obviously AlphaZero is not playing the openings that it likes. It's got to adjust and adapt, and well, this sometimes leads to some very interesting positions and interesting games. So I'll just
I should also say that in coming days and weeks, we're going to be looking at some other unpublished AlphaZero games and some of its openings, so a variety of openings that we haven't yet done a video, but we'll be putting them all onto the Game Changer site.
exactly. Now let's have a look at the how the opening came about. So that was d4, knight f6, c4, g6. The well-known Samisch opening with bishop e, bishop e5. Knight e2. White doesn't take this pawn. It's a pawn sacrifice. Has been analysed an awful lot and seems to be pretty okay for black. Knight c6, d5. So now we're into a modern Benoni type structure, especially after these moves happen. e6, bishop e2, takes, and takes. Modern Benoni structure characterized by a black pawn on d6, the e-pawn exchanged off essentially for white's c-pawn. White's got a central pawn majority, black's got a queenside pawn majority, and I mean, in principle, black's position is very risky strategically. This d6 pawn is very weak, and these central pawns are very big. But black can really develop an awful lot of counterplay with the combination of this bishop, mighty bishop along the h8 a1 diagonal, and this b pawn advancing. So this position, as Natasha mentioned, actually was also chosen in the recent season 18 super final between Leela and Stockfish, and well, we saw some fascinating games there. Actually, in both this super final 18 and also in this series, when Stockfish was black, it played the move A6, looking for very rapid counterplay with B5. And well, there is quite interesting because there was, funnily enough, a deviation between Leela and AlphaZero. Leela played the move A4, restraining B5, very common, and Stockfish went all in with the tactics, quite incredible. Bishop D7, threatening B5 again, even as a pawn sacrifice. That's very typical for black. And here Leela played H3 to trap this knight on E5. And after B5, F4. Stockfish went all in with the tactics. B4, knight B1, rook E8, f takes E5, and knight takes E4, a double knight sacrifice. And this is the game that we look at in a very recent video, I think a couple of videos ago. So do take a look at that one because it's well worth seeing.
Yeah, and both the games in this opening, so both the games between Leela and Stockfish in this opening were extremely tactical and involved sacrifices. And actually the games in the Game Changer book in this opening are also both really fascinating games. So we see it played by AlphaZero as white and black and Stockfish as white and black. And all the games are a whole lot of fun, loads of tactics, loads of themes.
Yeah, so here actually AlphaZero, when it was white, didn't stop b5. It played this move queen d2. And after b5 castles, it went for the exchange of dark squared bishops, which is actually very sensible. If you think, well, the black counterplay is bishop on g7 plus pawn on b5, so if you get rid of the bishop on g7, then well, you're obviously inhibiting black's counterplay. So actually AlphaZero there trying to flatten out black's counterplay. Bishop h8 is interesting, but the king does get very restricted, which again is always a very big theme in AlphaZero's play in particular, just restricting the opponent's king. You can just see if after bishop h8 this king has got no moves at all. And white will probably try and play something like h3 and f4, and well, that can be quite dangerous. Stockfish played bishop h6, queen h6, queen e7, and then AlphaZero played another very interesting move, knight d1, and brought its knight round to f2 and played for f3 to f4, and won a great game actually. We look at that one in quite a lot of detail in Game Changer as well. But the very most interesting game was the one in which AlphaZero was black and Stockfish was white, because AlphaZero didn't play a6. AlphaZero went straight away for its march of the rook's pawn with h5.
And marching the rook's pawn has become very characteristic with AlphaZero's play, also Leela's play, and also even some human players are enjoying pushing their h-pawns up the board. One player that plays it a lot is Simon Williams, but also other players, so even at the very top level, Magnus Carlsen, you'll see him pushing his h-pawn up the board.
Yeah, it's become quite developed as actually more as a positional theme. Obviously, Simon's a great one for pushing Harry and opening up the H file and attacking crazily. I think the nuance that AlphaZero brought to it was actually just placing a pawn as far advanced as possible, like H3 in this position, and then there's no follow up. It's not following up. You're not then launching an attack on the king side. It's just there as an annoyance. The pawn on h3, it helps to weaken some light squares in this case, restricts the opponent's king. You can just imagine that if a big piece like a rook or a queen were to land there, then it would probably be mate.
And long-term Leela fan, Trifon Gabriel, has come up with a name for a pawn like this, and he calls it a thorn pawn.
Indeed. Indeed, very good name for it. We wish we'd thought of that.
Like a thorn in White's position.
Indeed. So no, it's just a very long-term thing, and obviously it involves a certain amount of risk. The pawn is very obstructive here, but it could also become weak and be lost. So it's quite double-edged. But what you see is that certainly, I think you can say in modern grandmaster chess, this sort of theme is being used a lot more to create counterplay. Just to create counterplay in positions. Counterplay that you maybe didn't quite realize existed before. So very, very interesting, and it's really that has actually enriched the modern game, I think. So and it's funny as well that I think the player who really did this sort of thing before was the great Danish player Bent Larsen, and somehow he, I think. People always thought he was a bit of a crazy player, so this was kind of his crazy idea. So it's lovely to see, an idea like that being, taken up by a self-learning algorithm and really being used as a central part of its strategy. So how did that pawn has been placed now? So AlphaZero thinks I've got one long-term advantage there. So what does AlphaZero do? Well, it goes full out for counterplay on the other side. And it's just going to play b5, even as a pawn sacrifice, just to open the b file, get open lines, and start attacking. So actually, the funny thing is, in the Super Final 18, Stockfish and Leela also reached this position, and here the Stockfish in Super Final 18 played Queen d2. Leela went.
This is new Stockfish.
New Stockfish, very new Stockfish, very strong Stockfish. b5 anyway as a pawn sacrifice. Stockfish didn't actually take it at all, just ignored that. Queen a5, bishop f4, rook e8, a3, rook b8. A little bit of manoeuvring, but to be honest, you don't really feel that White's really making a huge amount of this really. The game actually remained balanced. Some quite sharp tactics, which we again looked at in our previous video. But basically, Black did pretty well here. It was not too many problems there. The Stockfish against AlphaZero played actually a very interesting move, a very logical move. It played the move rook c1, and again, Stockfish is not looking to hold back the pawn on b5. But it's anticipating that, and if you go b5 to b4, then the knight can drop back to b1. And the idea of playing rook c1 is that the rook isn't blocked in on a1. Behind the knight on b1, it's already active. And, if Black plays b5 to b4, that leaves a hole on c4, and this knight can go knight b1 to d2 to c4. So it's actually a very, very sensible move, this rook c1. I do actually quite like it. AlphaZero plays b5. If you go knight b5, then queen b6 probably won't even lose a pawn, because the b2 pawn is hanging behind the knight. But knight f2, this was Stockfish's idea. Rook e8, king h1, and Stockfish is just waiting for this move b4 to play knight b1 to d2. And you'll notice as well that this knight on e5 is a little bit short of squares, just as it was in the Leela Stockfish game. Probably White's plan, if Black doesn't do anything at all, White will play b3 to take away the c4 square from the knight, and then we'll be looking to play f4 and just win that knight on e5, which doesn't have a good place to run away. But AlphaZero, just always the thing that impresses me so much about AlphaZero's play is that when it sees a possibility to get super active, it just goes for it, just 100%. No fear of sacrifices or anything. It just throws the whole kitchen sink at it, and well, it certainly does here. So it starts with b4, so a move driving away the white knight back to b1, but obviously quite committal, making this weakness on c4, and now
that knight out of play. There's now a chance for, and also that dark long diagonal looking a little bit more open. There's a chance now for AlphaZero to do a tactic.
A huge tactic. I don't know if you want to pause the video, you might think what AlphaZero did. To be honest, it took me, when I saw it for the first time, I was, playing through the games at the DeepMind offices, whizzing through them. You just.
There's a little bit of a clue with the squares that are highlighted.
Oh, that is actually true. There we are, knight g4. Quite amazing move. It's a really incredible idea. So knight g4. I mean, white can't absorb this or avoid this. You've got to take the knight. Something like bishop g5, for example. I'd go knight f2, and then knight takes e4, which would be very, very painful. Bishop d8, knight f2 check. So white takes the knight. Why not? And black goes knight e4, takes rook e4, and white goes bishop f4. So a good time just to look at this and think, what on earth does black have? Black has sacrificed a piece for a pawn. Hasn't got the two bishops or anything like that. But what has white achieved? Well, first of all, white has broken up black has broken up the white centre. So this centre looked really solid with the pawns on f3 and e4, holding back black's pieces, and now that's gone. So black has got the open e file. Black has also opened lines for its bishops. The bishop on g7, for example, is very powerful here, now threatening to take a pawn on b2. But I think the key point about it all is the fact that you've opened up the a8 h1 diagonal. Not a lot, but from the square e4 down to h1. And this is actually incredibly dangerous when you combine it with a pawn on h3. So this pawn on h3 restricts the white king. You can imagine that the chance of a queen coming to e4 and delivering mate on g2 has got a lot bigger now that you've opened up this diagonal. And on top of that, if you look at the rest of the position, well, white's pieces are slightly in disarray at the moment. Knight on b1, a bit out of play. Bishop on e2 is actually going to be a target on the open e file. That's going to get hit as well. And there's other stuff like, for example, the pawn on b2 is loose. That would give black 2 pawns for the piece. That would also give black a lovely queenside majority. And of course, these kingside pawns are damaged.
Yeah.
And
the king is very restricted and in danger.
Exactly.
In danger.
Exactly, and of course the black king is completely safe. So there's a lot of a lot of incidental points that you can add up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and say, yeah, okay, that's we can see where black might have compensation. But the amazing key thing, of course, is that all the tactics work as well. So let's have a look at what black did. Queen e7, just preparing to get all the pieces coming to the party. Rook's coming to e8 as well. And here Stockfish played bishop f3, which I think is the best move, the most sensible move, bringing a bishop, attacking the rook. You're probably not going to take that one, but at the very least you're covering this h1 a8 diagonal and also covering this sensitive g2 square. Just worth showing maybe some tactics. What happens if white really does try and hold everything and doesn't believe in the black attack? We looked at a move rook c2, for example, that defends the b2 pawn and defends the bishop. So you don't want to give black a second pawn for the piece. You want to defend it and just defend the bishop. Actually, after this, black seems to be virtually winning, which is quite incredible. So rook e8 will double up or triple up on the file. Bishop d3, rook e1, queen f3, and now maybe a nice tactical puzzle. How does black exploit the factors that we've mentioned? So that's the king on h1, which is restricted by the pawn on h3, and now, well, there's some back rank weakness. Obviously now the rook's got to e1, and there's also the weakness of the diagonal, the h1 a8 diagonal. So if you want to have a go, just press pause and try it, because Natasha will now reveal the amazing.
That AlphaZero here played another sacrifice. Bishop takes g4.
Well, would have played, of course, because it's a variation. But bishop takes g4. So attacking the queen on f3. The queen takes on g4. But now, what is black's key move here? You can also pause the video here if you didn't spot bishop g4 the first time. There's a killing move here.
So you would want to take on f1 and give mate, but it is defended. So to divert that bishop, you play queen to e4 check.
Exactly. So this is quite tricky for white. Obviously, bishop e4 allows rook f1. Queen f3 allows queen f3, and well, the rook is still pinned against the king. And if you play king g1, we have
nice move, bishop d4 check.
Exactly. And after
poses, you've then got queen to g2 checkmate, supported by that thorn pawn on h3.
Exactly. It's a very nice variation, you know, just to show how how dangerous this such a pawn on h3 can be. So white's got to be very careful here. So Stockfish played bishop f3, and now AlphaZero took on b2, threatening to well, to get obviously a rook for the bishop, and grabbing a second pawn. And now, as we mentioned, this queenside pawn majority is going to be quite dangerous. But still, you know, I find it still quite amazing. I mean, the first time I saw this game, I had to analyse it for hours and hours before I finally believed what AlphaZero was doing. Because white plays bishop takes d6, queen takes d6, bishop e4, so that little diversion, just getting rid of the rook, bishop c1, queen c1, and bishop b5. And, you know, I was really, you know, I was looking at the position now, I was thinking, you know, is this really compensation for black? After all, you're a piece for a pawn down, and you know, what do you actually have? Well, again, it's this sum of small factors. First of all, this pawn on h3 is still, you know, very, very strong, restricting the black king. Always going to be back rank weaknesses. This queenside pawn majority is now well got free, and with this move bishop b5, we attack the rook on f1, but we're going to play c4 to c3. And if you look at white's minor pieces, they just still, it's very hard to find, you know, spots for them that are going to be very active. This bishop on e4, where's it going to go? Is it going to go to f3? Is it going to go to c2? Neither of those squares are doing a great deal. Of course, on e4, the bishop's also tied down to the protection of the pawn on d5, which is pretty crucial as well, because if the queen gets to d5, it'll give mate on g2. Well, black's still got a rook on a8, which you can use to come to e8. And again threatened to come into the second rank or maybe even the first rank later. It's simply very, very difficult for white to find good spots for its pieces. And as long as black, you know, keeps up the momentum and keeps on moving its queenside pawns forward and threatening that a8 h1 diagonal, then yeah, black seems to have, you know, completely fine compensation for the piece. I think in all the analysis I got my engines to do on top of all the fruitless work that I did, you know, we never managed to find any sort of advantage for white here, which, you know, was incredible to me. And well, you know, that just I think, you know, helps you improve when you see a, you know, a fantastic example like this that surprises you so much. So white played rook e1. Queen f4 was another idea I looked at. Black takes on f4 and goes rook e8, and well, you can see how awkward this is. The bishop can't move because there'll be a back rank mate, and meanwhile this pawn on c4 is going to go to c4, c3, c2. We've even got ideas like f5, just you know, attacking the bishop, forcing it to move.
So even kind of many moves later and swapped off into an endgame, black's kind of compensation for the piece remains.
Exactly, and all due to that pawn on h3. It's you know, it's just now really incredible. I mean, really incredible judgment from AlphaZero there. But again, these are the things that it does, you know, brilliantly. I mean, this is not an out and out tactical position. There are tactics in the position, but it's a mixture of you know, material imbalance, strategy, strange bits of compensation that you have to gather all together and see whether that's you know, enough compensation for the piece. And those very complex, you know, not overtly tactical, but strategically complex positions are the ones that that AlphaZero plays you know, the best, and also, you know, the neural nets nowadays, of course. And it's, you know, the big strength of machines like Stockfish are the really overtly tactical positions with many open lines, especially unsafe, possible unsafe king, you know, and then, you know, the calculation depth and the calculation imagination is just incredible. So Stockfish played rook e1, rook e8, knight d2, good move, trying to get developed there. C4, that pawn cannot be taken because we black-white just ends up getting horrifically pinned everywhere. So knight f3 from Stockfish, and this is actually a very clever plan. Stockfish is actually really just trying to develop some kingside play. Black's king has looked pretty safe so far, because white's pieces were so far away from it. So Stockfish is really just trying to bring the knight and the queen closer in order to create some threats. And play queen f4, and here AlphaZero played the very sharp queen c5. And what is this move, queen c5, doing? Threatening c2, threatening queen f2, so dual threats. And well, at this stage, Stockfish decided that the correct way to play was actually to go for an attack, which I think he'd already calculated was going to end in a draw. And in fact, AlphaZero also felt that the position was equal, so they both felt that the perpetual was incoming, but they certainly went about it in a very spectacular way. So knight e5, threatening f7. I think I calculated that takes, and queen f2 was also good enough for a draw. The big problem for white here is that you can't move this bishop anywhere because then it'll be mate on g2. So white's best is just to give a perpetual. I think in this way: bishop takes g6, e6, check, king g6, check there, and check, and you just can't avoid the perpetual there. But AlphaZero and Stockfish decided to play to the gallery, I think. Played rook e7, queen f6, c2, getting ready to queen here, and now knight takes g6. So white's threatening mate on h8 now with the queen. So f takes g6, queen g6 check, king f8, queen check, king g8, d6. Stockfish could have taken a draw by perpetual, but keeps on going. Always amazes me, really just how many perpetuals and the machines find, in these sort of tactical positions. I think in a game, I'd be happy to find one, So d6, c1 queen. It's all happening. Two queens on the board. Back rank very weak for white. Actually, it looks like white might have made a bit of a mistake there, but Stockfish, of course, had seen everything and finds this great move: bishop h7 check, and after rook h7, queen d8 check, queen e7. The game was drawn by perpetual. So a quite thrilling draw there in the King's Indian Samisch. So I said, I hope you enjoyed that game. I can still remember, how shocked I was when I saw this move on the board. It was one of the ones where, there I was in a little office on my own, in DeepMind, having been given these games to look at, and I just, what is this? Crazy lunatic. But simply, it's a sacrifice that's got a huge positional basis. Clearing away the centre, exposing the opponent's king, tempi on bishops that are exposed on a now open file, and white pieces that are just slightly uncoordinated, not on their best squares yet. But the way that that AlphaZero sort of molds that together, and especially just adds this this extra factor of a mobile queenside pawn majority to it. Some of the positional strategical advantages change and get replaced by by others, and how that all worked and how this turned out to be good, and the long-term value of this rook's pawn on h3. Because remember at the time, this rook's pawn on h3, it seems so common to us now, but when I was seeing all these AlphaZero games where AlphaZero was doing this consistently game after game, this was really very new to me. It's very new that this could be a consistent strategy and be so effective as well. So it's a really impressive game, and actually what I do love about it is that this opening obviously has produced a huge amount of great games, because the the Leela Stockfish games were from the recent Super Final 18 were fantastic as well. Do take a look at our video there on the very recent one. I think number 34 on the King's Indian Samisch. Really worth seeing as well. Just as spectacular as this one. So there we are. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed our little celebration of our prize. It's always nice to do that. If you haven't taken a look at Game Changer yet, then do take a look. It's really a lovely book. We thoroughly recommend it. It's a lovely book, full of great chess, and if you're interested in computer chess and the neural nets, in everything that's happening, then I think it gives a lovely introduction, and a great deal of background. And well, there's loads happening in computer chess at the moment. I mean, currently, I think there's two separate developments of Stockfish allied to a neural net. So the Stockfish search allied to a neural net. I think it's Stockfish NNUE, and I think there's also another one, Stockfish INN. And they're looking really, really strong. So much happening in computer chess at the moment. So much great chess, really worth getting into. But anyway, if you're new to this channel and you haven't subscribed yet,
then please do subscribe and tell your friends about the channel.
Exactly.
If you're enjoying the videos. Exactly,
and otherwise keep watching. We've got lots of videos planned. Some more on the modern computers, and a lot more also on AlphaZero. So everyone, thanks very much for watching.
Thank you for watching.